Hi, let's talk a little more about valved brass instruments and how they work. As you can see, this is not a tuba, and it is not a trumpet, or a euphonium, or a flugelhorn, or a French horn. It is, of course, the valved brass instrument's first cousin, the trombone. The two principles that we've talked about, the longer the lower, and you get what you give, also apply to the trombone. So to illustrate the principle of you get what you give, if I buzz in 3 different notes, I will get out 3 different notes. The other principle is the longer the lower. If I extend the slide, I make the trombone a little longer, so the pitch becomes lower. The system of the longer the lower is a little easier to follow with the trombone. Every slide position is a half step lower than the previous. So first position, second position, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. This corresponds to the fingerings on valved brass instruments of open, second valve, first and second valve, second and third valve, first and third valve, first, second, and third valve. There are also trombones that have valves. They're called valve trombones instead of slide trombones, and they are basically the same thing, just as the name says. They have valves instead of slides. There's also something called a superbone, and it has both a usable slide and valves. Many trombones have one valve. It's called the trigger, and it's operated with the left thumb, also known as the F attachment. This trigger has the same function as the 4th valve on a tuba or a euphonium. And speaking of euphonium, if you can play euphonium, basically you can play the trombone. The range is the same and the mouthpiece is the same. The only difference being that you use the slide instead of the valves to determine the pitch. Now, what's so special about a trombone? Well, I'll tell you what's so special about a trombone. You can do that. You can glide between the notes. That's called a glissando. But this can also, of course, be a disadvantage. Sometimes you might not want to glide between the notes. This is the secret. If you're playing trombone, you have to remember, if you ever change slide positions, you have to use your tongue to slightly articulate the new note. So instead of this, you get this. So, now you know a little more about the valved brass instrument's first cousin, the slide trombone.